Hello, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Hello, Gordon. Hello. And welcome to Star Trek Picard. Welcome to tonight's review of Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 3, Assimilation. Now, I will be honest, this was not my favourite episode of the three so far. Bit of a mixed bag, I think. But, yeah, it was okay. Some parts were good. I think some parts were very bad as well. But, you know, we're going to get into those in a minute. We're just going to wait for a few more to join up. While we're waiting, if you do me a favor, hit the like button, the big thumb button, and also share this video on Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media. Let's see if we can get as many people in as possible. Also, please don't be afraid to let me know what you thought of the episode as well. You know, if you enjoyed it, parts you liked, parts you didn't. Also, while we're waiting, if you want to support this channel, there is a link in the description and pinned to the top of the chat to our PayPal. So if you want to donate to our channel, please do. Also, spoiler warning: if you've not yet seen the episode, go away, and then come back and watch the review. But I would appreciate if you did stay because I need as many viewers. If you don't want to know what happens, turn down the volume. But please keep watching. But apart from that, yeah, so just wait for a few more to come in. But overall, there was, as I said, one thing I do like about this season is it really does carry on where the previous episode left off, generally, which is also why I think they should be dropping this as a whole season and not as a, not by episode, because they're not telling self-contained stories. They're telling a long story arc. So I do feel that they should all really be dropping this as a whole season and not, one episode at a time, to be honest. That's my opinion. I don't know how you feel. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, please. So we're just waiting for a few more to come in before I go into the review, because I don't want anyone missing out. Goes a 10-hour movie. Well, yeah, actually. In fact, Alex Kirkman did say we are now coming into the point where there's going to be very little difference between movies and television programs, and he's not wrong. Considering you see, big Hollywood names now starring in small TV shows, and also the other way around. I think, they're trying to streamline the whole thing, to be honest, and that's what I think this season so far is especially new Star Trek. I think is what it feels like one long movie, rather than sort of 26 episodes per season. Each one feels like a TV show, or a TV episode. They're making one long movie, and unfortunately, they are dropping it. Dropping one episode per week, which I think is the wrong way to go. If like I mentioned, I think in the last review, the show Cobra Kai, they drop a whole season. They do, I think, 9 to 10 episodes a season, and they drop the whole season to watch in one view because it's one long continuous story. So yeah. I can't see what the viewer count is. Says there's only 3 watching on my one. But okay. All right, let's get into the review then. Let me just make sure that's tweeted out on Twitter. I think it is. And on Facebook as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just get on with it then. So, hold on. Let me just bring up my thing here. So, as I said, it was good to see that each episode carries on where the last one finished off. I think in the last season between each episode, some time had passed, say a day or two. But yeah, definitely, they are generally sort of going right where the last episode ended, straight into the next one. And, you get to see the whole story that way, rather than them, as I said, letting some time pass by. Gordon says, maybe do shows like Lower Decks Weekly, but Picard and Disco maybe drop as one. Yeah, absolutely. You could do that as well with Prodigy as well. Because I think they did a self-contained story. I've not actually seen Prodigy yet, because it's not available on Netflix or Paramount. but I will get to it at some point. But yeah, Star Trek, as Discovery used to be on Netflix. Well, I used to catch that every episode of that until they moved it to Paramount Plus. So I'm really hoping that Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, at least, will be on either Paramount or on Netflix. And I'm hoping they they do put those on Netflix, because I do want to see Strange New Worlds as soon as it comes out. Okay, so here we are. So as I said, it was good to see that each episode continued where the previous left off. And we left off with Seven Nine's parallel universe husband, the sort of space Hitler, if you like, because he was a bit of he did come across somewhat Nazi-ish, didn't he? And but that's the universe they're living in, isn't it? That's this totalitarian nightmare, as Picard put it in the previous episode. And so they're trying to escape. They escaped onto the that versions of the last arena with the Borg Queen, and they followed suit by beaming on board. And and one of them shoots Elnor. So Elnor's on the floor, slowly dying with a shot wound. Now, I found that always a bit weird, because it's like there's a bullet wound there, and it shouldn't be like a bullet wound. If anything, because it's it's an energy-based weapon, it should be more of a burn. It should have cauterized the wound, but also maybe the wound is so severe that he could suffer from it. It's like a big, massive burn. But no, it's more like a bullet hole, which didn't make a lot of sense. This was one of the few. I know it's nitpicky, but still, generally when anyone got hit by, say, not so much somewhere in between stun and obviously, but when they got vaporized, there'd be like a burn or something. But yeah, okay. So he's got a hole in his chest. Which isn't doing him any favors, unfortunately. But yeah, this was one of the few things I didn't like about the episode. By the way, I see there's 6 watching, so come and say hello in the chats. Don't be afraid. If you're new to the channel, again, please don't forget to hit the like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Anyway, as I said, so yeah, Elnor's on the floor suffering, and the husband, or 7-9's alternate reality husband, suspects that these members of the crew aren't who they claim to be. He thinks that maybe they're under the alien influence, or they're imposters, which they are, because they're from an alternate reality. Gordon says maybe the Dominion weapon with that anti-clotting agent in it. Also, Elnor. I know, yeah, Elnor. And there's something else I'll get to in a minute. Another little nitpick, but that's a little bit further down. So he suspects that they aren't who they say they are, and he hits 7 of 9 when she tries to do something, but then she strikes back. And after a skirmish, Raffi and 7 and Rios get the upper hand on these evil, these evil humans, and then obviously they take the weapons off them and they fire at them, vaporizing. Now, I did think there was one. I understand the husband; he was reaching for a weapon, but again, there was. But then again, saying that, I still don't think there was any need to vaporize them. They could have stunned them and beamed them off the ship, maybe, or taken them with them as prisoners. I don't think there was any need to vaporize them, to be honest. But hey, in that meantime, obviously, Jurati started plugging the Borg Queen into or at least tried to do something where she got to plug the Borg Queen in, and so they then, after vaporizing 7's husband and his companions, these what looked like security guards, they set course for the sun. And there was as they're heading toward, they're being chased by the Confederation starship. I think it was 2 Nova classes and a steam runner class. They do experience some turbulence, which makes, while the Borg Queen is still in her, in her encasing on that table, she falls overhead. She falls off that table or desk face first into the floor, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. That was one of my favorite parts of the episode. The Borg Queen just toppling over into and using her face as a brake. Uh, there was another scene just like that a little bit later on, which wasn't as funny, but I thought it was. But I thought that was the aim. It was going to be a funny. That was going to be a funny scene, but no, it wasn't. And so yeah, and Gerard is on the floor next to her. The Borg Queen crawls out and connects herself and starts taking over. Connects herself to the ship, and she starts taking over the. Well, essentially, she takes over the operating system of the ship, doesn't she? And yeah, so everything, all the displays start getting Borgified, and it was cool to see. She also enhances the weapons. Now that is a nice little. I don't know sure if it was a callback or just they're using something that's been done before. But 7 of 9 used to enhance the weapons on Voyager. Whenever Voyager's weapons weren't quite cutting it, she just inject the ship with nanoprobes, and all of a sudden, the ship's phasers and photon torpedoes were enhanced, and they start blowing up the men start blowing up the enemy vessels. And this episode was no different. The Borg Queen had somehow enhanced the photon torpedoes, and they destroyed. They obviously hit the deflector dishes on their ships, and the ships exploded, which was I've got to say it was some really cool CGI. I think the Borg, as I said, the Borg Queen did what 7 used to do. Although I don't understand why 7 doesn't do that anymore. Inject the ship, doesn't use the nanoprobes. Maybe she's run out of nanoprobes. Who knows? Maybe she used them all on Voyager. Voyager stole her nanoprobes, and now she has none left. I don't know. But we don't get to see her do that sort of thing anymore. Maybe it's too cliche at this point. Who knows? Yeah, and as they're making their way to the sun, Q reappears very briefly, tormenting Picard again, saying, this is what you live for. This is what you really want. Gordon says, but it got so creepy. It did get creepy, yes. But as I said, yeah, Q reappears, and it did seem like only Picard could see him. Like, no, the rest of the crew didn't know he was there. Only Picard could see him. So yeah, and Q can do. I suppose I would imagine Q could do that, make himself only visible to Picard. It happened before in the episode Tapestry, where he took Picard to the past, and obviously, although Picard still saw himself in the mirror as the way he did in the. He saw himself as an old man. Everyone else saw him as the young Jean-Luc, and nobody else would see Q unless Q wanted them to see him, which was, so I suppose Q can do that. He does have that power. Bit Momentum, and then he disappears. So they make their way to the sun, and then they jump into warp, and Rios starts counting down the warp speeds: warp 8, warp 9, 9.5, 9.8, as they enter into the time warp around the sun. However, this is where it got a bit weird for me. Now, they are traveling back in time. This is true. But time on the ship inside the ship starts going backwards. Which means, of course, then if that's the case, why they would end up on obviously doing everything in reverse? And also, if they're traveling back in time 400 years while time inside the ship is going backwards, wouldn't they all start de-aging to the point that they revert into embryos and then into nothingness? Because, well, I mean, that's how by that logic, that's what would happen. But I don't know. That was one of the things that bugged me on that episode. As a warp bubble spends time and space around the ship, and they go into a time warp. Time inside the ship should still be running forward at the normal pace, I would think. But yeah, that's again just. I guess they wanted to do a special effect maybe for that shot or something. But then again, saying that, you look at the voyage home when they did the same maneuver. That was some trippy. They had a trippy little montage there of weird things happening while they're traveling back in time until they reached obviously the 1980s. So maybe this is just one of those weird time effects that we're just supposed to ignore because it's just supposed to be a really cool effect. I don't know. And that's another thing as well. When it comes to time travel effects, there's always sparks. They did the same thing at the end of season 2 of Discovery as well, when Burnham goes back in time. She goes through that, temporal anomaly, and then there's sparks flying everywhere. I don't know why that is, but okay, maybe there's something to do with time travel. Time sparks, maybe. I don't know. What was it? Yeah. So yeah, that was so. This episode was has been a bit of a mixed bag. There were some cool bits in it. Some bits I liked. So we're moving on. The crew arrive in the past, and the ship starts losing power and control, and unfortunately goes in a free fall in towards the Earth as its gravity pulls the ship towards it. However, somehow Picard was able to take control of the ship, and obviously set it on a court for a crash landing in France. I don't know how much to do that. What I did was surprised that this is a more advanced ship than the Bird of Prey 5. Sorry, it's more advanced than the Bird of Prey from Star Trek: The Voyage Home. Yet that Bird of Prey suffered less damage than Rios's ship. Although it was more primitive. I don't know why that is. Maybe because they had Scotty on board, and Scotty was a better engineer, so he was able to take care of the ship better than Rios could. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, I was surprised that it suffered the way it did. Yeah. So Picard sets the ship on a course towards France, and it crashes in France, or at least that's what we're led to believe. It doesn't actually say that it's France anywhere. I guess you were just led to believe that because Rios says, what coordinates did you set? And you said for home. So we can only guess that it is in France. Yeah. So while that's going on, there's major power outages going on, and the Borg Queen is ciphering off power from the ship. And this is while Elnor, I keep wanting to say L1, Elnor is suffering on the biobed, and the biobed is losing power, which is the only thing that's keeping him alive. It was quite a shocking scene, actually, to see Elnor slowly sort of fading away. And then Rios and Seven want to unplug the Queen from the power supply. However, they start struggling. So Rios pulls out his phaser, and he says, "Why don't we just kill her, and then we can remove her?" But Picard says, "No, because we needed to find the Watcher." Now, if you remember from the previous episode, when they spoke to the Borg Queen, she was able to tell them able to calculate where time had been altered in the past, and they need to seek out someone called the Watcher. So I'm looking forward to find out who that is. I still reckon it's that restaurant owner or cafe owner from the Voyager episode Non Sequitur, who engaged with Harry Kim. Because he altered history, and Harry Kim ended up back on Earth while Voyager was missing in the Delta Quadrant. And obviously he helped Harry Kim get back. So I reckon the Watchers, it might be that guy. I might be wrong. They might be using a whole new character. Gordon says it's Giles from Buffy. Is it? Is that from a trailer or something? Because I've not seen it. I've not seen any news on the next episode saying that it's Anthony Richard Head. But if it is, that'd be pretty cool. But it could still be the same character. Who knows? Oh, right, of course. Yes, Watcher. Oh, I thought you meant it was actually Anthony Richard Head playing the role. Oh, Gordon. Gordon, you are horrible. You are terrible. Honestly. I know. I can imagine you and your wife Gillian are now. I know you two are now laughing at me really hard. Maybe I should change my hair, dye my hair color to blonde. Hey, who knows? So they have to find. So he tells them we need the Borg Queen to find the Watcher. So he refuses to let Rios. He doesn't let Rios kill the Queen, and by that time, Elnor slowly dying on the table, and he fades away, unfortunately, quite sadly. And Raffi is not best pleased. So at this point, then immediately, rather than having a few minutes to mourn. I mean, they had the time really. They've already reached the destination. They're not exactly on the run anymore. They could at least had an hour or so to sort of to mourn Elnor's passing and then get on. But no. Picard essentially starts issuing out the missions and says, "Look, Raffi, Rios, and Seven, you have to go out and find the Watcher. Me and Chirati are going to stay here and obviously try and fix the Borg Queen because she's not functioning properly." However, Raffi's not best pleased with Picard. She does blame him for Elnor's death. For obviously choosing the Queen over Elnor. I do think it was a little unfair of her, though, blaming Picard for everything that Q does, keeping in mind that Q is this immortal, ultimate god, essentially, who can control space, time, and everything, and all of reality. And Picard is just, a human being, but she has to go at him, making it his fault. But then again, she's distraught. She just watched Elnor die. But I still think it was a little harsh to blame Picard for that. She was saying, "Is that what you and Q do? You play games with each other. You joust, all across these years." I think that's a little unfair. Picard has no choice. When Q appears, Picard has to play. He is essentially Q's pet, and I think it was a little unfair of Raffi to have a go at Picard for something like that. I don't think that was fair. That was another thing I didn't like about the episode. Where were we? They do then, as I said, Picard mentions we need to fix the timeline. We need to find the Watcher, and Raffi then asks, "Well, if would fixing the timeline save Elnor?" Now, I know it probably will. They probably will have Elnor come back because they fixed the timeline and he'll be waiting for him in the future. But the thing is this: Q transplanted all of them, Elnor, Raffi, Picard, Chirati, Rios, and Seven, to this new reality. So the Elnor that we know was the same Elnor in that reality. And then he died on the ship and he was brought back to the past. Had they perhaps had to leave Elnor in that reality and he got killed there and they fixed the timeline, maybe he would then still be alive in the original timeline again, but that's not what happened. So I don't see how, logically speaking, how Elnor would be alive if they fixed the timeline. Because he still got shot, unfortunately. Changing the timeline back won't do that because they were there as they changed the events back and then go back to the future. So it doesn't make sense. I know where they're coming from. I'm thinking maybe if they change it back, then obviously Elnor wouldn't have got shot and he reappears, but that's not how that works. He was shot and he's dead. Potato Reverend says, "Hey Conti." Potato Reverend says, he also says, "So my idea is." I do love you, Gordon. That is true. I do. You and your wife are absolutely fabulous. Q moved their souls to a new body. I don't know. I don't know. I think he probably just transplanted them the same way that he sort of transplanted Picard to the past in Tapestry, where he still looked old to himself but young to everyone else. He has that ability. Yeah. Who knows? He didn't move the OG bodies. Well, who knows? Maybe. So Picard issues the missions. They then obviously Raffi, Seven, and Rios get on the transporter pad, and Chirati beams them away. And if you listen very carefully, if you go back to the episode and you rewatch that one scene, you can actually hear the old sound effect from the original series when they used to operate the transporter control. It has the same sound effect, just slightly modified. Potato says, "Why was Seven not a Borg?" Because in that reality, she wasn't assimilated. In that totality, in that reality, she wasn't a. Oh, I see what I mean. Well, yeah, I don't know if it's the same bodies, but they've just been transposed into this new reality. They've just essentially switched places with the people in that other reality. But anyway, getting off course, getting off topic here. So yeah, they beam away, and you can hear the old TOS sound effect when they used to move these three pins up the control panel. It had the same sound effect, which I thought was cool. Nothing wrong with that. So they beam away. At that point, then as they beam away, Jurati and Picard get to work on fixing the Borg Queen. Yeah, so they're fixing the book, and I do love Jurati's jacket. Now, Picard, Jurati go into it. She says, "Look, you can connect me to her." As she's unconscious, but she's not unconscious. It's like her mind is not connected to the rest of her body, and she's unable to control and able to operate herself. So Dr. Jurati essentially gives the suggestion that if you plug me into her, maybe I can bring her out. And Picard says, "No, it's too dangerous. You don't know what it's like to be to be connected to be connected to the Borg Queen, or to be connected to a Borg hive mind." He says, "Well, we're going to do it halfway." He says, "Well, halfway to hell is still it's still not a good thing." But she manages to convince him, and Picard says, "Well, okay, let's do it." So they go ahead and do that. They connect Jurati to the Borg Queen. The next scene cuts to San Francisco. Obviously, I think it's early morning, and the worst version. Now, this is another nitpick. See, I do like the song "California Dreaming." There are two versions: one from the Mamas and the Papas, and then the Beach Boys. Now, my favorite one is from the Beach Boys because it has the orchestral background, which was done by one of the masters of the time, a guy called Phil Spector, and it's an absolutely beautiful song. And this slow, sort of moody, brooding version of it, I don't see why they had to do that. It was a very depressing version, and I was not a fan of this version of California Dreaming, unfortunately. I really wasn't. But hey, some people might have liked it. I mean, she did have a good voice, but I like the Protect Room. I like the scene, but that. Oh, sorry, you like the music, but the scene didn't feel like. No, well, it's. I think it's the lens that they used. It's very common in a lot of TV shows using that kind of lens. Especially, it felt more like a CSI moment. Something from CSI. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. But no, I just don't think the music fit. I think using contemporary music generally in Star Trek is not the way to go. Using more classical music is what the Picard will listen to, or in Voyage or something else. But they very rarely use contemporary music, I think. Probably okay at the time. Maybe if they had the rights, maybe they would have. I don't know, for Tom Paris and Voyager, because they had some sort of generic pop songs coming out of his jukebox. But yeah, who knows? Who knows what they would have done back then had they had the money to buy the rights? Because rights for music are not cheap. And I know this was just a cover version, but still, it's still yeah. But so the crew and they end up anyway. So they beamed away together, but they rematerialize separately. Raffi ends up beaming into a rough area on her own, where there's loads of tents and poor people, sort of homeless people, shall we say, or they're all living on the street. 7-9 rematerializes, I think, in some park somewhere in front of a girl looking at an ice cream, and the girl asks her, "Are you a superhero?" And she says, "Well, don't tell anybody." Again, does Seven know what a superhero is? And I don't know. Who knows? Did they have superheroes, comic books in the 24th century? Good question. I don't know. Again, this is just one of those little nitpicks, but it was handled well. She said, "Shh, don't tell anybody," and then Seven walks off with a big smile on her face. Potato Roman says, "And they effed history harder than a hooker in a men's prison." I'm not sure what you mean by that, but okay. Yeah, and then Rios materializes. Now, this is where I thought it was going to be another comical moment, like I mentioned before with the Borg Queen, where she fell off the table head face first onto the floor. I thought that was going to be a comedic scene. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was actually quite, he banged his head in and he hit the floor. And I thought maybe he was just going to get up and sort of shrug it off. No, he ended up with a cracked skull and blood coming out of him. And he also ended up with a broken hand. And up until this point, this is where it got really, this is where I was actually enjoying the episode. Unfortunately, now after this part, everything else to me felt like a cutscene. Essentially, the cutscenes from video games, just without the game, you couldn't, without being able to play it. And this is where, unfortunately, it started to get a little bit dull. It was one or two funny parts, but after that, it was just dull. Eric sort of said, "Duel on True." Yeah, duel on true to you, Alexander. Particularly they got intertwined into IRL people. Rios got arrested. IRL. I don't know what IRL is. Seven and Rafi got caught on CCTV, and that little girl. Are you a hero? Well, yeah. As I said, that's I've already been over that part, but yeah. And again, I did. I was wondering, do people in the 24th century write stories about superheroes still? I don't know. But yeah, so Rios cracks his head on the floor, which then in the immediate next scene, he's being carried into the local medical center or some back alley doctor's office. And obviously, he doesn't want to go to a hospital. He has no insurance because he's from the 24th century, where medical treatment is free. Readily available for everybody. And well, anyway, he gets brought in, and the doctor, Teresa, her name is, starts treating him. Now we're back on the La Serena, and the Gerard is plugged into the Borg Queen. This is, I think, the only part of this second half of the episode that I actually really enjoyed was how Jurati and the Borg Queen switched places, and when Picard is interacting with Jurati would answer through the Borg Queen, and the Borg Queen would answer questions through Jurati's body. It was really interesting to watch. The timing, I think was done really well, as when they obviously rehearsed that scene. I can imagine they probably rehearsed that scene quite often just to get that bit right. That was really good, and you sort of got the feeling of how the Borg Queen connects to another person's mind, and she does that. She starts picking away at a different at the parts of her mind, bringing up different emotions like anger, fear, sadness. When she got angry, she tore into Picard. Sort of like apologizing afterwards. And then she sort of got sad and then happy, and it was a really good sort of display of different emotions, like she's actually being manipulated from an outside, from an outside, what's the word? Well, an outside influence, obviously. And then I said that when he was interacting with Borg Queen Jurati, that as they were switching around, and the answer would come in from a different body each time. That was really good. I enjoyed it. And at that point, then Jurati, as it got a bit too intense, he unplugged Jurati, and she fell unconscious. So we're now back. They then cut the next scene cuts them back to San Francisco, and Raffi meets up with Seven. But just before that happens, as she's walking through this area where obviously it's tent city, someone tries to mug Raffi, ask her for her money. Obviously, she says, she's from the 24th century. She doesn't have any money because they're not supposed to have any money because they don't need money there. Everything's readily available. So she said, "Oh yeah, sorry, I don't have any," and he starts losing temper. So she disarms him, pins him down, knocks him out, and then she mugs him. I mean, where's the evolved sensibility, But okay, maybe they need money, so mugging a mugger, it's not the worst thing in the world. I suppose he got what he deserved, but still, it's not. It's still uncanny behaviour. From from someone with evolved sensibilities. Oh, my microphone just popped down. I do apologise. Here we go. Sorry, fix my microphone. But yeah, no, it was an okay episode up until a certain point. But then again, it just felt like cutscenes for me without the video gameplay, which, well, yeah. The dialogue wasn't great at the point either. And 7 meets up with it. As I said, 7 meets up with her. She says, "Where have you been?" He says, "Oh, well, just getting mugged, but don't worry, he started it. And but I'm glad to see you're helping contribute to the We Need to Save the World Fund." Which, well, it wasn't too bad a line, but it could have been better written. So then, excuse me. So we then get back to the medical center, and Rios is sort of trying to, he says, "Look, I've got to get out of here. Can I have my stuff back?" He says, "You can leave once the room stops spinning." So, he gets up, tries to stand up, but he loses his balance. So he has to sit back down. And she says, "Also, I need to fix that hand of yours," because he has he has a broken hand or a broken finger at least. And I'm now not. At this one point, I'm wondering if she's going to end up being a love interest for Rios, and he takes her and the son back to the future, or if this is going to turn out to be Rios's great grandmother. Maybe he's going to he might fall in love with her, but then he finds out that this is his ancestor, and he goes, "Ooh, maybe not." So who knows? But they could end up taking it back to the future. I mean, Kirk did it with that with that female doctor who was that marine biologist in Star Trek: The Voyage Home. So it could happen again. Who knows? Yeah. Oh, also his comm badge is missing. He finds after he's been treated, he finds his little boy playing with the comm badge, who's tapping away at it. Which is picked up by Raffi and Seven in this skyscraper, which I'll get into that in a minute. But he's tapping away. It is not knowing what the hell it is. And he says, "Look, hey, that's mine. You stole that." Yeah, well, if you want it back, I have to get something, or I could just take it back. And we said, "Yeah, but that's stealing. And it's wrong." Well, it's not really stealing if it's yours. If you're taking something back, you're taking it back. It's not stealing. But okay, I think because it's a kid, he sort of gives him a little leeway. To be honest, in my day, I would have got a clout around the head and said, "Give it back," and that would have been the end of it. But not in the modern society. Children don't get hit anymore, it seems. I don't know. Maybe they do. But no. So as I was saying, so he pulls out a plate from the top of the fridge, which have these cookies on there. To be honest, you don't really know how long they've been there, but he starts eating one, and he overemphasizes how delicious they are. And obviously, the kid wants one as well. He says, "Well, look, I'll trade you the whole plate for that badge." And just as he's about to get what he wanted, the mother interrupts him. And she says, "Well, how about he just gives it back to you anyway?" And he gets no cookies because it doesn't belong to him. So just then, Rios obviously thought he was going to get his comm badge back, but the doctor then decided, you know what? Until you recovered, I'm going to hold on to this, just in case you might decide to steal something. Because for all she knows, he might be a thief. Because as far as she's concerned, he's an illegal immigrant and he's there, so he might be a troublemaker. Who knows? Well, far as she's concerned, she is. Well, he could be a thief or a murderer or a drug dealer. You just don't know. So she decides to hold on the comm badge until he's fully recovered. And it was at that point then where he. At that point, he goes away and he goes and gets changed and he's ready to go. As soon as he comes back in, there is obviously the police start banging on the doors. They want to get in, and then cut back to the ship where the Borg Queen wakes up and starts to torment Picard about, "I'll give you the information you want if you give me what I want." And says, "What do you want?" Says, "I want control of the ship." So she wants the ship. So I wouldn't be surprised now, maybe that now she's integrated into the ship, that she actually now becomes, should we say, the ship's the new ship computer, and she's going to have a bit of an attitude on her, like the way Q's son in Voyager changed he changed the ship computer, he changed the Voyager's computer to have a bit of an attitude. So when Janeway ordered a coffee, the replicator told her to go make it herself. So who knows? She could end up being a sassy computer of Rios' ship when they get back to their own time, rather than letting her go, because maybe she'll become integrated in a way that she can't be unplugged. It might be the way it is. Hopefully, we'll have to wait and see. It would be good. I mean, it would be an interesting idea, to sort of have this sort of semi, disembodied Borg queen controlling the ship. And it has an attitude. Or in fact, she just can't stand the crew whatsoever. But the crew continue to go on adventures, and she has to tag along because she's got no choice. She doesn't have full control of the ship, but everything has to go through her in order for it to succeed. That would be an interesting concept. This is one of the few things I did like about the episode. So who knows? Because once I saw that, it got me thinking about what I just said, and I think that would be an interesting idea for at least the next season, and for the rest of the season as well. So this sassy Borg queen giving the crew attitude because she's stuck with them and she doesn't want to be there, but she has no choice. It's not a bad idea. If that's where they're going to go with that, then I think I might, I think I could be happy with that. And after that, then again, Jurati wakes up and, she says, "Oh, I've got the information we need. Don't worry." And Borg says, "You're lying." Says, "Well, search your own files." And she then realizes that the information that she was trying to bargain with Picard has actually been removed from her, shall we say, her memory files, and they're now in Jurati's head, and she knows where the Watcher is, and she knows also when the events are knows when the events are going to change, but she doesn't know quite yet what. Which obviously we'll find out from the Watcher, whoever that is. I still think it's that being from Non Sequitur who runs that cafe. I might be wrong. It would be cool to see that character again. I don't know if they have the same actor as they did in the Voyager episode, but if they did, that's cool. If not, maybe it's the same character, just a different actor. Because he was able to sort of locate the differences in the timeline, when it happened, how it happened. And obviously, again, as I said earlier, he helped Harry Kim get back to the right timeline. So, just wait and see. It looks like we may get to see him in the next episode, in the next episode's trailer, but we probably won't end up seeing him till the very end, or at least hearing his voice until the very end. And then after that, probably then might not see him till the following episode. So probably might not see him till episode 5. Who knows? We'd have to wait and see. I am looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully it was better than this one. This one was for me a mixed bag, where I enjoyed the first two episodes immensely. This one was not the best one of the season so far. Gorilla's random thoughts. Stopping in to drop a like. Haven't seen the episode yet. Oh, well, by all means, go and watch the episode. It was a good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, I didn't thoroughly enjoy it. Sorry, it was a mixed bag. But some said it's their favorite episode. Others say it's utterly horrible. I didn't think it was utterly horrible. I think I enjoyed the first half a lot more than the second half. As I said, the second half sort of just got reduced more to dialogue than anything else. Where the first half had dialogue, it had action, and there was a lot going on, and I'd say it was enjoyable. You actually felt like you're being taken away on this adventure, and then the adventure sort of just died down. So yeah. I mean, one thing that bugged me the most was they had to go to the top of the Raffi and 7 and I had to go to the top of the skyscraper to use their tricorder, I suppose, if that's what it was. it looked a bit too primitive to be a tricorder. To be honest, it looked like that scanner device from RoboCop, something from the 1980s. I don't know. But it's like they had to go to the top of the tab to get the cell reception for it to work, to triangulate into to try and find this watcher. Where you in the Voyager episode Future's End, and also Time's Arrow, Beverly Crusher using a medical tricorder, and the Voyager crew in Time's End parts 1 and parts 2 were able to track down Captain Braxton, but just by using a tricorder. They didn't have to go in these tall skyscrapers. And so the 24th century technology tricorder in Voyager was obviously better than the tricorder they had. That's just the way it is, because they didn't, as I said, trying to find a good signal in order to find this watcher person. It didn't make much sense to me. And if they can use transports to beam a person from France to San Francisco, surely their tricorders could locate someone within a local area. That's just the way it is. But yeah. And so then we cut back to the medical center where Rios, in order to get his badge back, because he can't leave his technology lying around for anyone to find, because that would alter the timeline. He takes the risk. He puts on a doctor's jacket and tries to pretend to be a doctor so we can get the Teresa to come with him so we can get his comm badge back. Unfortunately, the police spot his wound on his hand, and they arrest him. They throw him against the wall. They arrest him, and they arrest the female doctor, Teresa. Now, again, another thing that bothered me, they wouldn't just bust in the doors, I don't think, unless of course someone phoned them up and said, look, there's illegal activity going on. I don't know of any instances that's ever happened in the States where the police would break into a small little medical center to arrest people. I don't think that's ever happened. Not to my knowledge. I've never heard of anything like that happening. But again, I think this is one of those issues where angry white men, Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump's not in office anymore. They're sort of I think at this point they're beating a dead horse. It was probably that episode would have done very well in 2016. It doesn't really hold up. It's beating on a dead horse, in my opinion. But hey, that's just the way it is. And anyway, he is arrested and he's pulled away just as he leaves out the building. He looks over to the table where he sees his comm badge, and then he's pushed out. He walks out the building with the police, and it's at that moment then Picard tries to contact him over the comm badge, and that's where the episode ends. Again, the first half of this episode I thought was really, really good. It held my interest, because it continued right off from where the previous episode did, just like episode 2 continues straight away from the first episode. However, it's the second half wasn't as strong as the first half, and this was not the best episode of the season so far. But it's okay. It's only been 3 episodes, so 2 out of 3, not bad. The first 2 episodes were really good. This one was 50-50 for me. Hopefully the next episode will be better. And I'm looking forward to it. What are your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the last episode, if you've seen it already? Let me know in the comments. Come and say hello in the chat, by the way. If you're don't be shy, I don't bite. Or at least not yet. Gord says the payoff may be in the next episode. Well, hopefully. Well, I mean, I think they're going to be there for the majority of the season. I think they probably won't get back. They probably won't decide to go back to Earth until, they won't go back to their own time, probably until I think maybe episode 6. Because we've got next episode 4, 5. So maybe episode 6, they'll set course back to Earth, because they've only got a couple of days left. So who knows? But maybe it might not be to episode 8. But then, what's left after that? Now it is said that Q will only appear in 6 episodes, and that is in both season 2 and in season 3. So it looks like maybe we'll only get Q in 3 episodes this season. He's already been in. In fact, no, he's already been in 3. He was at the end of the first episode. He was in the second episode. And he was in this episode as well. So that's 3. So I don't know if we'll... It looks like he's going to be more than 6 episodes then. Because it was said it was going to be 6 episodes over 2 seasons. But it looks like he's going to be more episodes than that. Because there is a trailer for this season where he'll meet Dr. Soong. So maybe they were lying about how many episodes he's going to be in. Who knows? Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to say goodnight here. I hope you enjoyed the review. And for those who are rewatching this, please don't, if you enjoyed the review, please don't forget to hit the like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content. Question of Trek, the game show will be returning in 2 weeks. So not next weekend, but the weekend after, on at a usual time on the usual day. So yeah, we will be returning on the first weekend of April. We also have a new captain. Which of course is James Dowd. He's going to be replacing Paul, because Paul is not on the show anymore. He may still appear in some of our cartoons, but he won't be appearing as a team captain anymore, unfortunately. If you would like to appear on an episode of Question Trek, by the way, you can let me know in the comments down below, or you can DM me on Twitter. Just look up either Continuum Trek or a Question of Trek and send me a DM on Twitter, and I will do my best to respond to you quickly as possible, because we are still looking for guests for our 4th season of A Question of Trek. But with that being said, I wish you all a good night. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you next week for another review of the show, of Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 4. Good night.